The alarm blared across the alien nursery like a scream in a vacuum, high-pitched, relentless, impossible to ignore. Feral shrieks answered it, cutting through the sterile hum of the observation deck. Massive claws scraped the reinforced glass, leaving streaks like lightning across polished metal. The alien parents froze in shock, their tails curling in alarm, eyes wide and unblinking. Their cubs, the pride of a warbred species, were thrashing, snarling, and snapping in a frenzy that had never been seen outside the training arenas. And at the center of it all stood a human. She was calm. Too calm. Arms crossed, gaze sharp, boots planted firmly on the floor like she owned every square meter of the room. The cubs lunged, hissing, claws extended, teeth bared with lethal precision. The room vibrated with instinctual rage, a symphony of predator violence honed for conquest. The human tilted her head. "All right, little monsters," she said. Her voice was low, measured, but it carried something the aliens didn't anticipate: authority. A cub leapt at her, claws first, a blur of scaled fury. She didn't flinch. She didn't scream. She roared. Not a frightened shriek. Not a warning. A full, guttural roar that rolled out of her chest like an avalanche. It was a sound honed by instinct, by adrenaline, by the same force that had driven humans to conquer impossible odds for millennia. The cub froze midair, ears pinned back, eyes wide. Its siblings skidded to a halt, tails coiling in confusion. On the observation deck, the alien parents recoiled, jaws slack. Their precious soldiers in training, the apex predators of their world, looked small, foolish, and scared. "Impossible," the father hissed through the comlink, tone trembling with disbelief. They're reacting wrong." "Not wrong," the human muttered. She crouched, muscles taut, stance fluid like a predator herself. "Smart." One by one, the cubs tested her again, snapping, lunging, growling. Each attack was met with a movement that was slow yet instantaneous, a pivot, a dodge, a firm push that sent the attacker sprawling but unharmed. Her control wasn't cruel. It was precise, terrifyingly precise. The mother hissed into her communicator, panic rising in her throat. "Containment breach imminent." "You, contain it!" The human leaned closer to the largest cub, claws swiping dangerously close. "You think fear will work? Try respect." Her eyes locked onto the creature's, unwavering, magnetic, commanding. The cub's body trembled, then relaxed slightly, ears twitching, confusion warring with instinct. Every movement, every glance, every roar was a language the aliens had never learned, understanding instinct and bending it without hurting it. The realization struck the alien father like a dagger. Entire fleets, entire wars, and we assumed humans would be pliable, weak, predictable. The human tilted her head, expression almost amused. "Assume wrong," she said. One clawed hand hovered over the cub, not touching, just asserting dominance. The little predator whimpered, a sound of submission that would have been inconceivable in its own species. She straightened. Her voice dropped, calm and final. "Now, everyone, settle down. Or you'll find out exactly why humans survive where others fall." And in that instant, a fundamental truth burned itself into the minds of the alien observers. Humans weren't just survivors. They were predators, in ways no one had imagined. The cubs paused, uncertain, sniffing the air, assessing, recalculating. The human didn't move. She didn't threaten. She just stood. And somehow, that was enough to bend chaos into order. On the observation deck, the alien parents whispered to one another, a mixture of fear and awe tightening in their voices. They understand us," the mother muttered. "They read instinct like a weapon." "Yes," the father agreed, face pale under his scales. "And they use it better than we ever could." The human smiled. Not triumphant. Not mocking. Just human. Calm. Unshakable. And terrifying. Because the aliens had assumed superiority. They had assumed their soldiers in training, the apex of a warlike species, would dominate any human they encountered. They had assumed wrong. And the human? She was just getting started. This sets up the suspense, establishes humans as cunning and fearless, and foreshadows the coming domination and HFY moments. Time slowed, though the aliens didn't notice. For them, each second dragged like an eternity as their cubs, bred to dominate entire ecosystems, hesitated under the human's gaze. Every claw swipe she dodged, every hiss she countered, was a lesson in control. And it wasn't just brute force, it was strategy, instinct, and a kind of terrifying calm that no alien could anticipate. One of the cubs, bolder than the rest, lunged in perfect coordination with its sibling. They snapped, claws glinting with the sheen of acid, teeth bared like sharpened steel. The human sighed, almost like a parent correcting a minor misbehavior. She pivoted, caught the first cub mid-leap with her forearm, and spun, sending it skidding across the reinforced floor. The second collided with the containment wall, bouncing off harmlessly, stunned but unharmed. The observation deck erupted in panic. "Containment failure! This is unacceptable!" the mother hissed, slamming her claw against the console. Sparks flew, red lights blinked. "Pull it back! End this!" The human anticipated it before they could act. She crouched lower, tilting her head, and whispered something in their guttural tongue, broken, jagged, but precise. The cubs froze. One whimpered. Another clicked in confusion. Then, astonishingly, the third took a cautious step back. The alien parents gasped. She's speaking to them," the father stammered. "She understands them?" Not just understanding. Leading. It was the moment every military strategist in the galaxy feared. Humans didn't just survive by reacting, they predicted, manipulated, and dominated instinct itself. Every swipe, every hiss, every movement of the human wasn't random. She was reading body language, predicting attacks, and reshaping behavior with nothing but presence and primal command. The cubs' fury faltered, replaced by uncertainty. They sniffed the air, their instincts screaming warning, their training failing against a single human who didn't fit any known predator profile. The human stepped closer. One hand hovered near a clawed paw, not touching, merely asserting dominance. Her eyes bore into the cub, unflinching, and the creature froze. The others mirrored its hesitation, tails curling, ears flattened. In that instant, the nursery, the supposed arena of chaos, became a chamber of compliance. From the observation deck, the mother growled through her communicator. We underestimated them. Entire fleets, entire civilizations. We assumed they would be weak, pliable, manageable. Assumed wrong," the human said softly, almost conversationally, glancing up at the observation window as if the aliens were part of the lesson. "Now settle down. Or learn the hard way." The cubs, the pride of their species, obeyed. Not out of fear. Not entirely. Out of instinct twisted by intellect, out of respect for dominance they couldn't name. The realization hit the alien parents like a physical blow. This human wasn't just strong, fast, or clever. She was a predator who understood how to make other predators obey. And it didn't require technology, fleets, or weapons. It required one human mind, one fearless body, and a single, uncompromising roar. She's controlling them," the father whispered. His voice trembled under the weight of comprehension. "Entire war-bred instincts, bent by a human." The mother's tail twitched nervously. We thought we were superior. We thought we trained monsters no one could tame. And yet, she's turned them into her soldiers." The human exhaled, relaxed slightly, then crouched lower, scanning the room with the precision of a predator in the wild. "Now," she said, "let's get some order in here before someone gets hurt." For the aliens, the lesson was clear and terrifying. Humans weren't just survivors. They were unpredictable predators capable of reading, mastering, and commanding instincts that no other species had ever controlled. And the galaxy would take notice. Because when humans engaged the impossible, they didn't just survive, it adapted, dominated, and won. By the time the alien military liaison arrived, expecting to quell a minor disturbance, the human had already rewritten the rules of engagement. She wasn't just babysitting. She was patrolling, observing, anticipating, and commanding. Every swipe the cubs threw, every hiss or spit of acidic saliva, was met with a move so precise it made the aliens' military manuals seem laughable. She wasn't fighting, they were fighting themselves under her control. One cub launched a coordinated attack, claws aiming for her chest in perfect tandem. She pivoted with the grace of a seasoned fighter, caught one mid-leap, spun it across the room, and planted the other gently but firmly against the containment wall. The cubs skidded to a stop, unsure whether to attack or retreat. They had never faced a human like this, a human who didn't fear, didn't panic, didn't flinch. The observation deck erupted into chaos. "This is impossible," the mother hissed, scales bristling with disbelief. "They shouldn't be able to contain them." But containment wasn't the point. The human stepped forward, crouching slightly, letting the cubs feel her presence. One by one, the snarls subsided into hesitant clicks, the aggressive lunges slowed, and the snarling symphony of war-born instincts melted into confused, submissive whines. She's controlling them," the father admitted, voice tight with fear. "We are soldiers in training, they obey a human?" "Not just obey. Respect." Fear blended with understanding. The human had done what no alien parent, no military strategist, no technological advantage could accomplish. She had asserted dominance over instinct, over training, over evolution itself. The human straightened and looked up at the observation deck. Her eyes locked with the alien parents. There was no pleading, no compromise. Only a message, clear and undeniable: respect me, or regret it. The mother's tail twitched, a subtle but unmistakable signal of submission in their species. "We underestimated them," she whispered. "Completely." "Yes," the father said, voice low, almost reverent. "Entire fleets, entire empires, and we assumed humans were manageable. We assumed wrong." The human smirked, a small, almost casual smile, as if reading their fear like a newspaper. She bent down, letting one clawed hand hover near a cub's paw, not touching, merely asserting authority. The cub whimpered and pressed closer, instinct telling it to submit. "No," she said softly, almost conversationally. "Who's ready for dinner?" The alien parents recoiled. This wasn't supposed to happen. Their pride, their empire, their carefully cultivated soldiers in training, reduced to uncertain, obedient cubs by a single human who wasn't even armed. They had thought humans primitive, weak, predictable. And yet here they were, staring at a being who had bent their instincts to her will with nothing more than presence, understanding, and courage. A cold, terrible realization settled over the aliens: humans weren't just survivors. They were predators who could read, manipulate, and dominate instincts that no other species, even their own, could control. Entire empires might fall before fleets of humans who understood fear, respect, and leadership at a fundamental, instinctual level. The human finished straightening, brushing imaginary dust from her shoulders, and scanned the room once more. Calm. Efficient. Terrifyingly human. And in that instant, every alien in the observation deck understood the truth. First contact hadn't ended in negotiation or diplomacy. It had ended in revelation. Humans weren't merely a species to be catalogued or controlled. They were chaos incarnate, unpredictable, brilliant, and lethal, not through weapons, but through mastery of the living moment, mastery of instinct, mastery of themselves. The cubs, once snarling, leaping weapons in training, now followed her like shadows, uncertain but obedient. And the aliens, once proud, now watched in awe and terror as a single human reshaped the battlefield that wasn't even supposed to exist. Because sometimes, the fiercest warriors aren't in fleets or armies. They're standing in the nursery, holding the future of a species in their hands, and roaring back. The cubs curled against her like defeated little predators, purring and whimpering in ways that no one had thought possible. The human moved through the nursery with effortless authority, adjusting a blanket here, a crate there, humming softly as if she were tending a garden instead of taming the future soldiers of an empire. The alien parents retreated to the observation deck, tails between legs, jaws slack. They had watched entire species fall to human weaponry before, but nothing had prepared them for this, A single human bending instinct and fear to her will without firing a shot, without threatening permanent harm. They had come expecting chaos, and instead found mastery. She's more dangerous than we imagined," the father admitted, his voice low, almost reverent. "Not because of technology, or numbers, but because of herself. Entire war doctrines wasted," the mother muttered, clicking her tongue in frustration. "We assumed humans were predictable, fragile, weak. And yet," she shuddered, "she turned our pride into obedience." The human glanced up at them through the reinforced glass, a sly smirk curling her lips. "You can learn," she said softly. "Or you can leave. Your choice." And they left. Not with words. Not with threats. With understanding. A species bred for conquest had been humbled by a single human who wasn't even fighting, they were simply human. Their entire perception of the galaxy, of dominance, of war, had shifted in a matter of hours. Words spread across star systems faster than any fleet. The story of the human babysitter who roared back at alien war cubs, and tamed them, became legend. Strategists recalculated threat levels. Diplomats recalibrated their expectations. Entire empires realized, with a shiver of fear and respect, that humans were not to be underestimated. Meanwhile, the human finished tucking the cubs in. One of them nuzzled her palm, another batted playfully at her boot, and she smiled, sipping a cup of warm tea as though nothing extraordinary had occurred. Calm. Unshakable. Terrifyingly ordinary. Later, in the quiet of her ship, the alien mother whispered to the father. "We thought they were weak. Fragile. Manageable. But they think differently. They fear nothing, and somehow, they use that fear to control us." "Yes," the father said, his tail curling tightly. "And they'll keep doing it. Every time we underestimate them, we'll pay for it." The nursery remained quiet. The cubs slept, and the human leaned back, arms crossed, eyes closed, still humming. The galaxy would learn a lesson that day. Humans survive not because they follow rules, not because they rely on tech, and not because they play it safe. Humans survive because they confront the impossible, understand it, and dominate it with their mind, body, and unflinching courage. And the aliens, like every other species that had ever faced humanity, would never, ever forget it. Because sometimes, the fiercest warriors aren't on the battlefield. They're in the nursery, holding the future in their hands, commanding monsters with nothing but presence, and roaring back. Humans had not only survived first contact, they had owned it. And the galaxy would never underestimate them again.